The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Pastor Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. On this glorious day, your chance to get in touch, Friday lunchtime. Text 166 177. Email studio@manxradio.com. WhatsApp 166 177. Call 66 13 68. Well, we came to the conclusion yesterday there was a polecat that Frank had seen at Derby. Yes, and what a spectacular weekend of weather we got in front of us. Corinthian is due to dock in Douglas tomorrow. Then I think a week next Thursday, is it? Seabourn Sojourn is in Crystal Symphony next Friday. So more cruise liners coming in, and 800 plus Berry fans will be coming in to watch Berry play FC Isle of Man at the Bowl. Absolute tourist crock of gold, isn't it, for FC Isle of Man, bringing supporters right across at this time of the year. And it is Friday, which means we're in the 60th anniversary archive room, archive audio today. David Callister finds out about an open day at one of the island's favourite heritage attractions, Cregneash. I think it's sometime in the 1990s. Anyway, that's after Mannin Line today. David Callister will be in Cregneash. And first of all today, Wilf's on now. Hi, Wilf.
Hi, I was just heard about this polecat.
Yeah.
Well, I did a lot of hunting a long, long time ago, and I've seen them all. Polecats, ferrets, I can't think of the other one now. Weasels.
Yeah.
I've seen them all. But the thing was, it may have seen what we call a polecat, but it's not a polecat these days. It's what they call a feral ferret. A polecat, I think, is long gone. Most of them disappeared when the mixed mitosis come in.
Right.
Because they were rabbits and ringies and mice and all. They used to eat all them sort of things. But I've seen them all. If it would have been a reddish brown with a white front and a black tip on his tail. Can't think of the name of it now. I can't think of the name, but it's gone.
So, have we got many wild ferrets, Wilf?
Loads of them. You see them squashed on the road every now and again. Loads and loads of them. And I've seen that we've got things here, or had things here, that's not supposed to be here, or the experts tell us is not supposed to be here.
Uh-huh.
And I have actually seen weasel. I can't think of the name of the other one now. I've actually seen weasels. A fella showed me 6 of them in a box one time that his dog had dug out of in a nest up top of Sky Hill.
Yeah.
And they weren't the colour that they normally are when they're growing up. The colour of these were colour of the slate, dark grey. And they're moving that fast in the box you couldn't get a good look at them. But they were definitely things. And I've seen them if you see something jump out of the hedge as you're driving along in front of you, and it hits the road twice and is gone, that's a weasel. If you see a polecat or a feral ferret, he runs across the road, and that's what this fellow's seen.
Right.
It runs across the road. I can't think of the other one now.
Anyway, what else? You got something else on your mind as well?
Oh, dyslexic, yeah.
Yeah.
My son is dyslexic. Can't read or write. He's 50 now, and he's very successful. He can do anything apart from read and write. He can count. That's the most important thing. He can count money.
Did it ever bother him, Wilf, or did it ever bother you?
Well, I didn't know about it till later on in life when he told me that he couldn't read or write. I think he can possibly sign a check with a bit of a scribble, but he can't read and he can't write. But he can still use the mobile phone for texting and all the rest of it, various bits and pieces. But he does all his business on the mobile phone. But he is one of these fellas. I wasn't that bright at school, but he is one of these fellas that sort of, he gets things in his head and he does them. He doesn't need all this. Well, they said at school, my ex-wife said, Shane is going deaf. He can't hear us. I said, don't you think he might be taking no notice? Anyway, she insisted, and we took him up to hospital, and the ear specialist, and I went up as well, and the ear specialist, they took him in, and then come out, and the ear specialist said to me, who authorised this child to come and see me? And I said, well, my wife and school teachers. And he said, this child's hearing is above average. He said, he's got excellent hearing. I said, well, what it is, if he's looking at the television, he's blank then, that's it, he wants to see that. Or if he's at school and he's looking out the window, he's thinking, I could do it going out of there and going fishing or something. That's all it is.
Okay.
He has got on very well.
Everybody's asking, were you trying to think of a stoat?
That's the one, the stoat.
Okay.
Now then, I have a stoat once. I've seen several of them. They're not supposed to be here either. I was going up the Zare Road with in the Morris van, and I seen something run across the road, and it run into my wheel. I didn't go over it, but it run into the wheel. I got out, had a look, and it's a dead stoat. But it just coincidence. The night before, I was talking to a good friend of mine who didn't believe there was any stoats on the Isle of Man. So I gathered this thing up and took it to his house, and I said, there you are, it's still warm. And oh, this is wonderful, wonderful. So he took various photographs of it and things, and he said, oh, what'll I do? And I said, well, I'll give it to the museum if they want it. So apparently he gave it to the museum.
So which are the ones with snouts? Is that a ferret or a stoat?
Which is the ones with what?
With a snout.
A snout, they've all got snouts.
Oh, have they got long ones?
Yeah, they all look similar, but they're just different sizes.
Right.
Now, I once seen, believe this or not, an ermine.
Ermine?
An ermine is the one where you see them on the bottoms of the gowns and things, royalty and stuff like that, and in high-powered courts. And they're caught in Scotland. And what they are is a stoat turned white in the severe winters they got up there. He's reddy brown, but he turns white and is all white with its black tip on his tail. Now, I was once up Mackle out shooting with a gun, and I was walking around in the snow, and I seen this thing jumping in the snow. I thought, what on earth's a ferret doing out in this weather? Because it was white. And I got up closer because I couldn't move very fast in the soft snow. And I seen the black tip on his tail. And what it was the 62-63 winter, the severe one.
Yeah.
And it was that cold, he had turned into ermine. And I reckon that's the only ermine that's been seen on the Isle of Man.
Good grief. All right. Okay, Wilf, we appreciate it. Have a good weekend.
Okay, all right.
Cheers now. And Charlie's on with us now on Mannin Line. Hi, Charlie.
Hi there. I used to see a lot of polecats and stoat around Archalagan, but you used to get them multicoloured because I think it was in the 30s, a bad storm. There used to be a mink farm near Greba, and the storm took the fences down, and a lot of the mink got it out, and they started breeding with the stoats.
Well, I mean, the mink could wipe out the stoats because they're vicious things.
Oh, yeah, but, round Archalagan and round Greba, you do see quite a bit of multicoloured ones.
Good grief. And so this mink farm was when? In the 1930s in Greba?
Well, I'm not sure the exact date. There was right in the Greba Valley, there was a mink farm, and a storm took part of it down, and the mink escaped into the valley.
Wow. I wonder whether there's anything left of a colony of mink.
Well, there's nothing there now, but...
yeah, well, I just mean...
depending on how many things, if they've been interbreeding with the stoats or the polecats, there'll be a crossbred, won't there?
You bet. Okay. All right. Thanks, Charlie.
Cheers, mate.
Good to hear from you. And David's with us now. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. I just want to talk about waste.
Yep.
And you remember some time ago, I'd probably indicated to you, there was some changes to be for the waste strategy that comes from central government.
I remember.
And, we've all got this information now. It's not much information at all. And I've got to thank Rob Collister for drawing it to everybody's attention, local authorities and the construction industry and the waste forums and stuff like that. You know, what our government trying to do? I'm led to believe, but nobody will confirm, they've employed a consul to have the consultations done by another English company or an English individual or organisation to do that. And I just wonder out there, how many people in the construction industry, how many people in the waste industry, never mind the local authorities, have been consulted on it? It's very short, it's very narrow, and it doesn't address some of the policies we should have in the future, never mind from the energy from waste plant, but civic amenity sites. I'm not speaking as a local authority member, I'm just speaking as an individual now who was involved in waste donkeys years ago, and we don't seem to get any better. And maybe it's because government's involved and wants to grab everything. Local authorities have a function to collect the waste, and the function of government is to tell us where this waste goes, whether it's the energy from waste plant, whether it's there can't be any holes left in the Isle of Man. The one at the back of the airport, had a look there a couple of weeks ago there. I would think within a year that's probably full, and the one up north, you're probably talking about 6 months. So this strategy that this person is, I'd love to find out from the department, that's Mr. Renton, is running it with some other people there.
Well, local authorities were sent the link, weren't they? When I'm just trying to think, when was that?
It was only, about 2 weeks ago.
Right.
But it's like everything else. I think sometimes the government's quite clever, and I'm not giving them all the time. They do these things when we're not actually meeting, or when we're on a cycle which we may meet something, and then to say to us, we've got to have this done by the 28th of August, it started, and to the 30th of September. That's less than 5 weeks, like Rob Collis is saying. That's not normal, the practice for government consultation on an industry which could affect everybody. That's payment of rates, payment of going to the energy from waste plant, paying for private collections for waste services. There's a lot of people still in the waste industry have a business on it. And I just wondered how many of those businesses were consulted in advance of what actually is going on.
So do you think there may be something at the back of this where central government is wanting to take waste disposal out of the hands of the local authorities?
Yes, no doubt about it. The way it's there's the simple questions is, do you agree or not agree? These people are quite clever that do surveys, aren't they? They already know what they want from the answer, the client. If you're a Manx Radio survey, right, and you're doing it for Manx Radio, I know you're not, but never mind. But you say, what does Manx Radio want out of this? And you'd say, we want to be the best radio station, we want to be best of this and best of that. Put it into a sort of format where everybody, even if anybody criticises the Manx Radio, it's going to look great. That's the way the world is, isn't it?
But
what it does is it affects everybody. One, getting jobs done, builders who are trying to work out prices. You know yourself, the construction industry, it needs smaller jobs, not these big, huge things. They're going to come from across, aren't they, contractors?
Well, and again, the whole point about waste is nobody takes much notice of it because it gets sorted out. And if things start to change, or if government starts to change the way that it is, we don't know, A, how much it's going to cost, and B, whether or not it's going to be any better than what's happening now.
Well, that's it. And to be fair, I listened to the programme this morning when Rob Collister was on. He said about the bottom ash from the Energy from Waste facility. If you go the back of the airport, and it's public area there, have a look to see how the hole used to be about, say, half a mile deep, and now it's only about 300 metres. And that's going to last us, 8 months, 9 months, maybe a year. And where do we put the other stuff? Is government good enough to handle the waste operations? I would say, and I've always had this point, waste operations there should be a manager there and an IT specialist and somebody that does the paperwork, and everybody gets on with it. Make the rules. Government makes the rules and we fall in. But when they make the rules, we want to be consulted about how the rules are interpreted.
Okay. All right. Have a good weekend.
See you, mate.
Cheers now. It's 22 minutes past 12. So are you happy with how your household waste is collected? Could it be handled better? Then you might consider contributing to the government's consultation on what principles will make up the island's waste strategy over the next 10 years. So how much do you know about the current strategy? I mean, do you care? Do you feel you should be given the opportunity to make an informed response? If you want to take part in the process, it runs until Monday, 30th of September. Then visit consult.gov.im, consult.gov.im. That's for all consultation. You'll have options to get to this one. Paper copies are available to pick up from the Waste Management Unit, which is at the second floor at Markwell House in Douglas. And if you want any more information, call 639770. You heard David mention the Onken MHK, Rob Callister, who thinks basically there's just not enough information or communication from the DOI on this matter.
We all have our bins collected every week or fortnightly, and that particular point, the consultation touches on it, around a weekly collection or a fortnightly collection, but doesn't give any of the data around it to be able to say, is a weekly collection the right decision for the Isle of Man, or is it a fortnightly collection for the island the best decision? I mean, what surprises me when I did my own research is the fact that the Isle of Man disposes of around 233,000 tonnes of waste each year. Only 21% of that waste actually goes through the Energy from Waste plant. 26% goes to landfill, which I was quite surprised about, and 53% is recycled. So this is the information the public need to give a sound input into a consultation.
You mentioned fortnightly bin collection. Let's touch on that, because that obviously caused a lot of upset around Douglas when we moved there in the capital. Do you see that as an attempt to justify moving to an island-wide fortnightly approach?
Well, I think they've got to be really careful, because as I've mentioned in my submission, if we start to say, right, we're going to go down a centralisation and the waste is going to be collected from a central point every 2 weeks, it opens up an avenue of questions, but this consultation says nothing about it. They're just giving a very bland sort of, do you support centralisation? Well, let's explore that. We know that there are major local authorities on the island that actually do this as a key function. They've invested millions of pounds, on equipment, on staff, on training. So if all that was centralised, well, what's going to happen to those vehicles? What's going to happen to them staff? There's serious questions to ask. It isn't just a straightforward question, do you support centralising or not? People need the information.
Concerns about sort of redundancies of staff particularly. What scale would you see that happening?
Well, if we did go down a centralised route, then there would be seriously need to be asked questions around redundancies of the large larger authorities such as Onken, such as Douglas, such as Ramsey. Plus, you've got a number of several sort of private companies that collect waste, domestic waste on the island as well. So these are all the questions that need to be asked. It isn't just about do you support centralisation or not. You've then also got to think about the dynamics around the energy from waste plant. That plant has been around since 2004. It needs an average domestic waste of around 50,000 tonnes to be viable every year. That's how it was designed. It has a minimum capacity of around 40,000 tonnes and has a maximum capacity of around 65,000 tonnes. But as an island, we normally burn around 50,000 tonnes, which is at the optimum level. Anything less than that, it requires a shutdown, which then requires, the burning of diesel to keep it at a fresh temperature in order to be able to activate again at a later point.
There is Onken MHK Rob Callister talking about this consultation. And, I just wonder how you think about this. Is this mission creep by government? Is the DOI wanting to take over garbage collection from right across the Isle of Man to ease the local authorities out of this? Lots of questions, and if you want more information, that consultation is consult.gov.im, or you can get a paper copy from the Waste Management Unit at Markwell House. And Rob was talking to Lewis Foster, who's taking part tomorrow in the 53rd World Tin Bath Championship in Middle Harbour in Castletown. Lewis is representing Manx Radio. Here we're the one with the Mae West on.
The Loganair September sale is now on. Fly from the Isle of Man and save up to 15% off over 1 million seats across the Loganair network. Book by 6 p.m. on 8th September. Travel from 1st October. Subject to availability, exclusions apply. Visit loganair.co.uk. Use promo code SEPT15. Loganair. Your journey, our joy.
Caring for a loved one with special needs can be overwhelming.
With my mobility issues, I find it difficult to manage.
This is when Top Care Nursing can help. Proud to be an Isle of Man Award for Excellence winner, their friendly, professional team of carers and nurses offer a wide range of home care services. From help with daily tasks to giving round-the-clock care, Top Care Nursing can even take blood tests in the home. For a free consultation, call 628 919 or visit topcarenursing.im.
Here at Q-Plus, we're not just blue, we're green. From smart boilers to heat pumps, Q-Plus supply products from the leading brands in renewable energy for a cleaner, greener home. So call into Q-Plus on Snugborough Trading Estate, the island's largest independent plumbing and heating merchants for trade and retail. Or call 673 131 to talk to our friendly experts about the latest cost-effective products in home heating and find out what we can do for you at Q-Plus.
After another long spell on the road, FC Isle of Man are finally back on home turf this weekend and for one of the biggest games of the season. This Saturday, the Ravens welcome title hopefuls Bury to the Bowl, with hundreds of fans once again expected to travel to Manx shores for the spectacle. Join me, Rob Pritchard and Tony Mepham for FC Isle of Man versus Bury, kicking off at 6 p.m. this Saturday. Manx Radio will be providing full live match commentary on our DAB and AM 1368 channels. Live coverage of FC Isle of Man on Manx Radio is supported by Selton, investing in our community.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
It's 29 minutes after 12. Julian's on now. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. Summer has finally arrived.
What a day, eh? What a day it is.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Florida's doing all right. The IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, who's driving the climate emergency, their model predicted 26 hurricanes for this year, and they're up to Hurricane Ernesto. So E, which of course they count up alphabetically, is only the fifth one. So that is 21 more to go in just a few more weeks of the hurricane season, which means that it's the weakest hurricane season in 56 years since 1968, which is interesting.
My word. And it was interesting to see, what was it? Was it the hottest summer, but not in Britain apparently yesterday? The figures came out for this year, and apparently it was Britain was colder. The British Isles were colder. That was certainly colder than Europe anyway. So again, it's statistics, isn't it?
Sounds like climate variability and perhaps some not very well positioned sensors as well.
Anyway,
the other day I mentioned the FOI from the MUA. The number was 396. 3453.
Yep.
And that states that the Isle of Man pays almost £177 for each megawatt unit of electricity that we bring over here down the cable. So guess how much the UK pays us for electricity that we send to them, Andy?
Not that much.
£15.
Good grief.
This figure comes from the latest MUA annual report, which means we pay 12 times more for green certificated electricity from the UK than we receive from exporting ours down the same cable.
Is it because ours isn't green?
Well, it begs the question, why are we being told that green energy is cheaper than traditional power generation then? And another interesting FOI, different number, also MUA. The person that sent in the erroneous one, it got me thinking, actually, so thank you to whoever. So I've been having a little look around. FOI number 3359829 states that in 21 to 22 year, how much diesel do you think was used to export electricity to the UK?
Diesel?
Yeah. Peel and also Bullrose has some diesel generators.
Okay, yeah.
Just under 1 million litres.
Oh, good grief.
That doesn't sound too green to me. It was less last in the previous numbers, but 1 million litres, and in the previous, I think 2 years before that, it was over 700,000 litres. So it begs the question, I just want to know, why is it that anyone is trying to make out that green energy is cheaper than traditional power? And they also tried to make out that they were saving some money. So if that's the case, is diesel generation a quarter of the cost of gas and 12 times cheaper than the interconnector if they're making money at £15?
The truth will come out, Julian, when we know what we're paying for domestic electricity. It will be lovely to know when, in the middle of all this miasma that we're negotiating through, how much are we going to have on our bills when it says kilowatt hour, cost per kilowatt hour, which at the moment, the best part of 30p, 29-30p per kilowatt hours, and there are other rates during the night. But we'll only know that when it's cheaper when we start getting cheaper bills, and you wonder whether we ever will get cheaper bills.
Well, this begs the question in the news recently. So we're told that green energy is going to make electricity cheaper. So we've spent more than 250 billion with a B on wind turbines in the UK, both on and offshore, 11,700 of the blooming things. And then in October, they're going to put the UK price up by 9.6%, so say 10%. So that's also on the rate. That's the actual unit price, not the standing charge. The standing charge is less. That's going to be 1.4%. So that means that people who need to use electricity or gas the most, namely elderly people who even feel the cold. I mean, we've had a cold winter this year. I bet there's quite a few elderly people that have had their heating on quite a lot this year. If they spend £2,000 to £2,500 a year on their heating, well, that's going to go up over 200, 250 quid, isn't it? Which is a lot.
You just wonder where this is going to end, because, as I mentioned, most people couldn't give a tuppenny toss where the electricity comes from, as long as it's not doesn't make too much of a fuss. But it's how much it costs that's important. And Will said yesterday, that if suddenly we were offered free electricity by Ørsted for putting up the War of the Worlds wind turbines on the East Coast, most people would take free electricity.
Well, judging from the cost of £177 down the interconnector, that's not going to be a reality, is it? And this just begs the question as to, it can't be cheaper, can it? This is like a wet fish slap in the face. It can't be cheaper. If we're spending 12 times more bringing it over with green certification on that FOI 3963453 from the MUA, it can't be cheaper. It's just impossible. It's way more expensive. It's 3 times more expensive to get the electricity down the cable from England than it is to just get it from Pulrose now. It just doesn't make any sense.
It will be nice to hear from the MUA or Cabinet Office or the infrastructure as to, what are the true numbers where this is concerned. What are we actually looking at? What are we looking down the barrel at in the future? If we are going to transition, if net zero is going to become a reality on the Isle of Man, how much is it going to cost for everybody here? And really, somebody's got to come up with a judgment as to whether or not this is in the Isle of Man's interest.
I mean, just to put numbers on it, I know numbers are just a quick number. For example, there were 47 units or gigawatt hours that were exported. So the deal, if the UK's amount of money that they want from us was chargeable, we would have got 830,000, but the deal we've got with the £15 up, 75 grand instead of 830,000. It's so disproportionately less. It's huge, 12 times less money to export. And we're using diesel as well. I mean, 1 million litres of diesel. I mean, that's like, what is that? Is that like 2 swimming pools of diesel?
It's a lot of tanks full, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all this. Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, just it doesn't sound too green to me, Andy.
Appreciate it. Thanks for that, Julian. Good to hear from you.
Cheers.
I'm planning to take the grandchildren, says WhatsApper 857, taking the grandchildren to Ramsey Beach tomorrow, left of the lifeboat slip. I was there a few weeks ago. Terrific day. They loved it. Up to the point a couple turned up with a huge Alsatian dog, which the children were scared of. It's probably very well behaved, but it just looked scary. It was big. Now, this particular section of beach, dogs aren't allowed. And, of course, there was no warden in sight. So all listeners who own dogs kind of keep off Ramsey Beach from the lifeboat slip to the harbour wall, says Big John in Ramsey. Millions spent on IT systems and staff, yet Dr. Allinson can't give benefit claim figures without going through thousands of files, says G. And if you want eels, go to Lake Road Tesco, get some cooked chicken, sit on the wall next to the river, drop some chicken in the water where you're sitting opposite the Shearwater House, and wait a couple of minutes, and eels up to 1 metre will appear, says Ian. Well, that's tomorrow sorted out. There was a mink farm, says L, at Baldwin many years ago. Some escaped and the equality was eventually closed down. Carl says, Andy, ferrets are a domesticated form of wild European polecat. If you see one in the wild, that it is a polecat. And Jason said, I was shocked to see Rob Callister making the statement about waste management consultation when he was in charge of the DOI during COVID. He never informed the public when the incinerator broke down. Did it break down?
The Ramsey Garden Centre sale is now on, featuring a huge range of garden items at vastly reduced prices. Don't delay. Grab a garden bargain now. There has never been a better time to visit Ramsey Garden Centre. Open 7 days a week on Albert Road, Ramsey.
We interrupt this broadcast to inform all our listeners about the huge range of bathrooms and showers on display at Pacesetter. Yes, you all know that Pacesetter is known as the island's largest tile store, but I'm here to tell you that their bathroom displays are truly inspirational. Visit Pacesetter on Harris Terrace, where you'll discover a fabulous collection of stylish bathrooms. There's something to suit everyone, with design available. Pacesetter bathrooms and showers to show off about.
When you need a fitting memorial or headstone for a loved one, contact Manx Memorials in Peel. This long-standing family-run Manx company offer a wide range of granite and marble headstones and memorials, along with an island-wide inscription and renovation service. Manx Memorials skilled professionals will take the time to help you choose a suitable memorial, and we're proud to say we'll beat other local quotes. Call 843 861 or email matthew@manxmemorials.co.uk.
Check out the Groudle Glen Railway summer timetable for some great days out. Visit the Clifftop Tea Rooms and Sales Emporium, book a special steamed tea and join our free family train spotting challenge. Hop on the line that goes uphill to the sea, the Groudle Glen Railway. For times, see ggr.org.uk or visit on Facebook.
The previous message was brought to you by QVH, the island's premier serviced offices and co-working space in the heart of Douglas. Douglas. Call 639 940 for more information or visit qvhpremierofficespace.com.
Coming up, we have another winning weekend here on Manx Radio. And this weekend, we've teamed up with Millie Chaps to give you a chance to win a £200 voucher to spend in store. All you have to do is listen out for our winning question, which we'll ask on air right across the weekend. And once you've heard it, text your answer to 166 177. Millie Chaps offer everything for your home with over 40 top brands. They've also expanded their Stressless and Temper collections. Perfect for upgrading your space before winter. Make this your winning weekend with Millie Chaps and your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
19 minutes before 1. After Mannin Line today, as I mentioned, it's the 60th anniversary archive with David Callister heading to Cregneash in the 1990s just to counter some of the energy cost scaremongering. This is, says Anonymous 653. There is no clear cost per megawatt hour for Pulrose other than about 6 years ago. However, a report from 2023 which is when the cost for the interconnector was highlighted. The average generation cost for gas power in the UK was between £200 and £400 per megawatt hour, significantly more than the price quoted in the FOI. What's more, the interconnector cost is 17p per kilowatt hour, cheaper than that supplied on the Isle of Man. Green energy will therefore have an impact on bringing the price down. Also, upgrading the infrastructure will be needed no matter where the energy generation comes from, so to use that as an excuse against renewable is a nonsense. Oh, nonsense, says 653. Thank you for that. And also, fossil fuels are massively damaging environmentally and their price is totally volatile and in the hands of the tyrants, says Steve. Totally volatile and in the hands of the tyrants. Every fossil fuel, totally volatile in the hands of the tyrants. Gas and oil are drilled from many places that aren't in the hands of tyrants. Lots of coal is drilled and mined from places that aren't in the hands of tyrants. I take your point, but they're not all totally volatile in the hands of tyrants. Local authorities, says 110, have a statutory duty to collect waste and refuse. The latest survey is pointing to a central refuse collection operated by government. Some time ago, DOI took away various local authority operations like hedge trimming, drainage and what have you, and now want to give them back. Rob Callister makes a very valid point when he talks about the investment in waste collection and recycling by local authorities. If government takes over the role of refuse collection, how long will it be before they decide that they've made a huge error and want to give it back? It's hoped that should government want to take over refuse collection, that the local authorities band together and refuse to give way. They've invested in refuse wagons and recycling machinery. It's not really for government to do it. It's lovely on the beaches now with the new beach cleaning machines and, of course, beach buddies, but it's spoilt by dogs running around and leaving their mark. Surely it's time to ban dogs all year round. Plenty of spaces elsewhere, says John. Ban dogs from beaches. It will be a brave politician who did that, wouldn't it? The price is governed by global markets, says Steve. I don't understand why you feel the need to defend fossil fuels. I don't think I'm defending fossil fuels, Steve. I'll be honest with you. But we take your point, and your opinion is valid as everybody else's is. But give us a call, Steve. It'd be nice to hear from you. Well, thanks also to the people talking about this question on the Manx care situation with face-to-face educational sessions for new mums and dads. They're being removed. It's got lots and lots of comment. Manx care say they're being replaced with online resources instead. It's currently the only session offered to mums in person, while daddy baby care classes are continuing. So perhaps you're in this situation, but lots of people are concerned about the fact that these face-to-face, person-to-person meetings will now be going online. Cassie Quirk had a difficult pregnancy and she developed postnatal depression. She reckons more hands-on support would be very useful and could have helped her understand the change that was coming. But Cassie's not alone. Lots of people have got concerns. There was also Reagan Bagley, who's a senior midwife at the Jane Crookall maternity ward. Now, Reagan wants to basically reassure parents that you'll still get the support that you want.
We want this to be the start of a platform for discussions with your midwife at your antenatal checks. So we want you to use the information from these virtual videos and then go back to your midwives at your antenatal checks and then open up discussions. I would say that it's intended that women should work with their community midwives, in the antenatal period, and that the birth plans that you can draw up, we encourage women to do that and book extra sessions. Your midwife will do that for you, so it's a longer session so that you can make those birth plans and discuss anything that you've got concerns about.
Here's a note in from Christine who just said, what's happening at Manx Care? They seem to be removing lots and lots of services, and to say that it's going to go online, surely that's a nonsense. When you're pregnant, what you want is a real person to talk to. Is it hot on the Isle of Man? I'm elderly, but I wouldn't take free electricity. Our beautiful Isle of Man is far more important to preserve. So if we did have to, even if they gave away free electricity with those wind turbines, well. It's down to basic mathematics, says Des, and that's all he says. It's down to what's down to basic mathematics? We need a vote of confidence in the government now, says Dennis, before we burden the population with multi-million pound costs for electricity and the enlargement of the population. We've had enough of, Dennis calls them, this is Dennis's word, idiots in government, acting with impunity on projects they aren't qualified to oversee. This has got to be addressed by a new government or direct rule from the UK. Well, that's very extreme. We aren't being consulted, we're not being considered. I've had enough, says Dennis. I get so annoyed with our government and civil servants, they immediately go to the UK for consultation. We got very clever, knowledgeable people on the Isle of Man. We know our island, we know the way of life. They should be asking our own people, says this correspondent. Another anonymous correspondent, and it'd be nice if you put your name on. The figures aren't comparable as they're different years. The figures for imports, mostly from the expensive 2022. We don't import green energy through the interconnector. Oh, all green energy through the interconnector. And the waste figures, another anonymous one here. The figures quoted include recycling figures from commercial waste businesses who have to submit every year, so not all household waste. It's unfair that charges of commercial general waste is double that of domestic, about £225 per tonne plus VAT. I'm happy with most things when it comes to waste, apart from the Ramsey Town Commissioners and how at the drop of a hat some poor lame excuse they've shut the place where what I consider one man's rubbish is another man's treasure at the Northern Amenity site. I mean, who do they think they are? Says Gary. The infrastructure is cheaper than that supplied on the Isle of Man. Green energy will therefore have had an impact on bringing this price down. Also, upgrading the infrastructure will be needed, says that correspondent. Well, we'll see, won't we? In the end, everybody can talk about things being more expensive or cheaper, but in the end, what can't speak can't lie. What are we going to have to pay for electricity in the future? It is only then that we know whether it will be cheaper, whether it will be better, whether it's greener, whether it's dirtier. In the end, we have to use electricity. Nobody surely is suggesting we go back to the Dark Ages, go back to candles. Juan's on now. Hi, Juan.
How are you, Andy?
I'm considering using candles.
Well,
we'll be powering the transmitter with candle power.
And a little wheel going round. You can have a little mouse on a wheel just to generate some electric. I believe you've been practicing for the tin bath race. I believe Mrs. Wint says you've been sitting in the bathtub at home practicing for tomorrow.
Well, that's her story.
Are you going with Lewis tomorrow? This will be good to see. This will be good to see.
I'll be giving him moral support.
Moral support from Davison's ice cream van, I suppose.
Very nice.
Just a few bits and pieces. Someone said to me yesterday or day before at the steam packet now, they're not accepting luggage over 23 kilos.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, they're seemingly. You can take luggage on as much as you want, but health and safety now, you can't have a bag over 23 kilos or they make you dispense it into another one. It's just come from someone that it's happened to this week.
That's a single bag. So you can take as much as you want on, as long as it's not more than 23 kilos per bag.
Yes, seemingly. And also, they're stopping foot passengers taking alcohol on as well. So they're giving them back at the other side, I believe. This has just come from someone who's actually experienced this week. I don't really know the logic in that. I can understand if they're trying to stop alcohol abuse on board, but it probably is more like the fact that they're trying to get to sell their own on board, because they're not stopping any vehicles. So you could take it up from the vehicle deck and take it on board.
Of course,
so,
yeah.
I don't quite see the logic in that one, but the 23 kilos and no alcohol. So if anyone wants to make a comment on that. And it's just listening to your chap there before, the same rhetoric about the oil industry run by tyrants, etc., and it's corrupted. And yes, probably agree with that. But I just wanted to make the point as well, Steve, that most of the people that are doing this new world energy that we're coming into have all come from the oil industry. There's no bright spark that's not come from the oil industry as far as I can see. We're just a bunch of salesmen who's made a lot of money out of that, shipping themselves over into a brand new little industry. So, there's that point there on that one. The bin collections. Going touching on what Rob Collister was saying about bi-weekly bin collections. I don't know whether this is working properly. I mean, Douglas Corporation have got 2 inspection enforcement officers going around. They're spending most of their time in back lanes in Douglas, trying to, sometimes going through rubbish, trying to find out which house or flat it belongs to. So I don't know whether this is really working efficiently. If you walk round the back lanes of Inner Douglas, Christian Road, Mona Street, Osborne Grove, a lot of these places that are multiple occupancy homes now or flats, the back lanes are terrible, a real mess. The bin people now won't take a bin if the lid is not closed. So you've got people living in houses now, the bins are overflowing because they're only getting picked up every other week.
You see, I can't understand why lots of the politicians with a perfectly straight face tell many people that a fortnightly bin collection is basically good for them and, they should know better.
Yeah, and of course now you come into environmental health because now you've got vermin. So you've got seagulls who are waiting for their dinner, and they're rooting everything out, and then that's getting put on the floor. Then the enforcement officer's trying to find out who did it, where it's actually Mr. Seagull, and so it goes on. So it doesn't seem to be working very, very well, that one at the moment.
Okay. All right.
Just a quick one. We had thanks for the people that turned up at Douglas Head yesterday on a windy day.
You didn't come in for your tea towel.
You had it there. You didn't tell me. That was sneaky. We're going to do one next week somewhere else at night time because a lot of people said they couldn't make it during the day, but they really wanted to come and have a chat. So we're going to find somewhere else next week.
Have a good weekend.
Take care, Andy.
Cheers now. Have you heard about the on past shows about apprenticeships? Can you give a mention to Sean Collett? Gave my son a chance to do an apprenticeship in plastering. Hayden Harris struggled getting any apprenticeship, but Sean Collett gave him one. If it wasn't for his boss and Joe giving him a chance, Hayden would have been in trouble. So we gave Sean Collett a mention. That's it. Have a great weekend.
WINT. 60 years serving you as the nation station. This is Manx Radio.
A perennial tourist draw has been the old village at Cregneash, just above the Calf.
In years gone by, not so long ago, great efforts were made to make this small community a must-see draw for visitors. Manager Chris Page.
Steve Carter has got a traction engine, and he's recently got it onto the island. It's a 1904 Marshall general purpose engine, and he's going to be powering our threshing mill. He's going to bring it up very shortly to the farm, and on the Saturday it will be just turning over because all of our threshing gang will be ploughing. Right. But on the Sunday we're hopefully, weather permitting I might add, it's got to be dry, and the wind speed has got to be reasonable as well.
I suppose some people come down and look at the ploughing that goes on and say, well, I'd like to have a go at that. I mean, is there any chance for people to have a go at ploughing?
If they come on the Sunday in the afternoon, we hopefully will have 2 plough teams there ready for people to actually put their hand to the plough.
Oh, really?
Yes, let them have a go on that.
You've also got some horse driving trials as well, haven't you?
We've got a number of other activities. This is what makes it much wider and covers a more countryside element feel to it, and I think brings it more interest to a wider range of the public. We've got on the Sunday from 12 o'clock until 4, we've got the Manx Harness Club are going to be holding a driving trial, which is going to cover the area around where the plough matches, cover the different hilllands. That we've got a course mapped out where people can see them going around through the various hazards, and they've also got a scurry to finish off. And over and above that, we have got on the Sunday as well a fell race. And that's taking place in the afternoon, roughly around about 12 o'clock until 4. And with that, the fell runners, local fell runners, are going to be of different age ranges, from young to old, are going to be on different courses around Cregneash and the Muir Peninsula.
So really you're piling more activities into Cregneash, I suppose, aren't you?
There's another competition there I think is well worth a mention, and that is Manx National Heritage is organising the National Hedge Building Competition. And this is quite an important one because we're all concerned about the state of the hedges within the island, and we're trying to promote the restoration of them, and this sort of competition does help to promote that.
Part of island life for 60 years. This is your Manx Radio.